If you're about to enrich your CRM data without knowing which fields are worth enriching, then you might waste a lot of money. So in this video, I will walk you through a Google Sheet I built before every enrichment project to make sure every credit you spend is worth spending. Right? Quick context: if you're just landing on this video is a part of a series where I am breaking down a real project of like how we have helped our client clean their CRM data and turn it into an enrichment GTM engine, right? So in the last video, I covered phase one where we have pulled all the CRM, we could say data records from the CRM and then ingest into Clay and segmenting into three buckets, which is customers, active pipeline, cold prospects, right? Today we are going to discuss the CRM data enrichment scene, right? This Google Sheet we have built with the client before we touch any enrichment tool, right? And the core idea of this Google Sheet is that for every single data in HubSpot setup, the client tells us three things. Do we already have this data? Second, if not, is it worth enriching? And third, how important is it to the business? Now, this is where most RevOps team skip the step and then they burn budget by enriching fields that are already 90% full, or sometimes they miss fields that were critical. But this Google Sheet solves all of that. Right? Now, this Google Sheet is split into two sections. So here we have company fields at the top and contact fields at the bottom, right? And then there are six main columns. Starting with column A, we have data point. This column contains the name of the fields. For example, company name, domain, website URL, industry, whatever data you are considering having in the CRM, right? And then in column B, we have object, whether it belongs to the company object or it belongs to the contact object. This matters because it affects how you will map and import all the fields in the HubSpot later. Then in column C, we have HubSpot property name. So the exact property name inside HubSpot. We want this to be finalized early because it becomes the mapping key when you push data from Clay into HubSpot in the phase four. Then we have property type in column D. So there are different types of property in HubSpot CRM or in any CRM. For example, single line text, drop down, URL, phone number, multi-line text, number formatted, right? And this is how we decide like how Clay needs to format the output. For example, if HubSpot is expecting a URL and then Clay sends let's say single line text, then the input will get immediately filled. In the column E, we have current fill rate. Think of this as a snapshot of how much of this data already exists in the CRM. And here we use a 6-tier scale. So here, if we start with the fill rate guide, first is 90% plus, which is like most of the records and most of the field is well populated. That means minimal cleanup is needed. And then 60 to 90%, which is majority field is populated, but still there are some gaps, right? And then 30 to 60% is partial, which is there are significant gaps and enrichment is highly recommended. Then we have 10 to 30%, which is sparse. That means most records missing this enrichment is likely critical. And then we have less than 10%. So this field exists but barely used. And then there is an unknown tier for fields we are not sure. Now, why does current fill rate matter? Because you don't spend enrichment credits on fields that are already 90% full, right? You spend them where the gaps are highest and the value is the highest, right? 30 to 60% or let's say 60 to 90%, right? Now the client has to just select the drop down from here, right? They can select 60 to 90%, 30 to 60% partial, depends like how much the current fill rate is for each field, right? Then we have in column F enrich if missing, right? Now, this is where the client has to take the final call and prioritize which fields we need to enrich. So again, here we have four possible answers, right, based on the different priorities. First is yes, critical. So this field must be populated. Without it, downstream work breaks. Right. For example, company domain is one of the fields you cannot dedupe or import it without company domain. Right. So it is a non-negotiable. We have to enrich it if it is missing. Then comes second, yes, nice to have. This is more of, you could say, useful for outreach and tiering, but it won't break if these fields are missing. Then we have third, which is no. So either we don't need this field, or the client's team will handle it internally. And then last we have NA. This field doesn't apply to this account type, right? And then in the column G, there is a notes, right? Notes section, but the client will explain why they made each call, right? This becomes invaluable later when you are mapping fields, right? For example, here client has mentioned that company name is a primary, we could say, identifier. We should it should be used in matching official business name, right? Then we have company domain, which can be used as a dedupe key for when we are inputting the temp, right? So it is a critical field to enrich and validate, right? Then we have our website. Then we have industry type, which is useful for ICP qualification and right. Now, I want to point out three things that make this Google Sheet valuable, right? The first is new data point, right? So if you have noticed, we have some fields that are new to this CRM, right? So these are the fields that don't exist in the CRM, right? They are net new intelligence we are adding. For example, manufacturing process used, then manufacturing plant location. So this become the fields that the sales team was not able to personalize on before, but now they can, right? So this is how the enrichment work actually creates a competitive advantage. Then second thing I want to point out is, if you've noticed, there are some fields that has no or any, right? So most teams focus on like what to enrich, right? But it is also important to know what not to enrich, right? Every no is a decision that saves budget, or every NF field is a field that we don't waste time, right? And the third thing is like when client fills the column F, right? They are signing off, like they cannot come back 2 weeks later and say why didn't we enrich let's say zip code, right? So this protects the project scope and our budget conversation as well. Right? So yeah, that's the CRM data enrichment sheet. To recap, every data point here gets mapped again 4 inputs: what it is, what type it is, how full the field already is, and whether it is worth enriching. And the client makes the final call, right? So if you are enriching the CRM data, and if you skip this step, everything downstream is a guesswork, right? But if you do it properly, then every enrichment credit you spend is a credit company already agreed was worth spending, right? So in the next video, we will start executing this plan, which is the phase 2, right? So yeah, I will see you in the next one. Bye.